Okay, now for the creepiest, most messed up bit of it all. She had put an AirTag on my car. She insisted that she had only put it recently and initially just presumably gambled that I wouldn't be home sooner than expected. But then one thing led to another, and yeah, I don't know how much I believe of this. Again, it could be an attempt to not look so guilty. I mean, she's admitting to put an AirTag on the car. She's also saying that she got a gym app just to see when you would get that. That's insane. The day when we clashed, she refreshed the app and saw I left the gym, but then my car didn't move. She connected the dots and tried to leave ASAP. Welcome to the show with Joe. I am Joe, and in a new location, so any visuals or whatever, what have you, please excuse, especially with volume and sound. I will try to talk loud, and I found out if I talk into the front of my mic, everything's good. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about this story about this guy. I'm not going to say his name because I don't think he even wants to be associated with the story. But the title is, for months I was confused why I kept finding long hairs in my house. Then I saw my neighbor coming out of my house. Like, what? What's his mood spoiler? Extremely creepy. Okay, we'll come back to trigger warning. So this is a man, I'll just read it as him because he posted this. So I'm a man in my 20s that lives alone on the very top floor of an apartment block. I've had short hair for at least the last 10 years of my life. The longest hair on my head is maybe an inch long, if that. However, across the house, I kept finding long hairs on the floor, like long brunette hairs, at least 5 to 6 inches long, sometimes longer, and they would be everywhere. Bathroom floor, in the shower, in my cupboard, in my kitchen, on my old clothes, living room floor, sofas, etc. Okay, terrifying. I've been single since November and clean often enough that I'm certain it's not my ex-girlfriend's hairs. Plus, the color doesn't match anyway. She had solid black hair, and these are more light brunette. Plus, finding them in places like the shower where running water is hitting all sides 5 times a week. Good point. Anyway, I wave it off as, well, I work with a lot of people and use the gym and bus sometimes, so naturally hairs are going to stick to my clothes. Well, one day this past April, I finished my early AM gym session and got the call that I didn't have to go to work for that day. So naturally, I start to walk home all happy that I have the day to myself. I'm on the 5th floor, the uppermost floor of the building, and the apartment in such a way that there's only one apartment per floor. I start to hustle up the stairs and don't use elevators since I'm all sweaty from the gym anyway. Just as I whip a right to go up the last set of stairs from the 4th floor to the 5th floor, I see my neighbors on the 3rd floor's daughter coming down the stairs. We make eye contact. We've never spoken before, mostly because we've never had a reason to, but also because out of respect, I didn't want to make her uncomfortable since she's 19, 21-ish, and I'm slightly older. The more interaction we've had, the most interaction we've had is that I've spoken to her mother and her father before when bumping into each other in the stairs. I gave a confused hello. At this point, I'm thinking that maybe she went to knock on my door to ask for something. A cup of sugar maybe? I don't know. I was expecting her to reply with something like, oh, hi, do you have any XYZ? Nope, she gave a silent hey. Brushed right past me, and only then, when the smell of my own shampoo hit me, did I notice her hair was wet. Like fresh out of the shower a minute ago wet. That's creepy. Now, I'm not saying she showered at my house or that I have a stalker that's been living in my house while I've been at work. She very easily could have been there to ask for something. And most generic brand shampoos smell the same. Okay, he's talking himself out of it. But don't the pieces all fit a bit too well? Her hair color matched the hairs I would find around my apartment. And like I said before, they were everywhere, in my bed, in my sock drawers. And if it's a case of me having a stalker, how did she know I come home early enough to bolt out the shower in time? Our apartment doesn't have cameras. It's an older building from before 2000. And what would she be stalking me for? How long has she been doing this? We never dated, never had a proper conversation. I maybe saw her 20 times in the past 2 years, given that I work and she presumably studies or works too. As all of these thoughts are buzzing through my head, I'm standing outside my door for a solid 2 minutes grappling with what just happened. I go to turn the key into my door and it opens without me having to unlock it. And I know for a fact I always double lock my door. It's the type with a lock near the waist level and a second more secure lock with a different key around the shoulder level. I drop my bag, throw off my shoes, run to the shower, and yep, it's wet. I hadn't showered since yesterday morning. Gross, but still weird. I am a confrontational person. Not that I go looking for fights, but I'll definitely pursue an answer if someone is bugging me. So back down the stairs to the third floor I went, knocked on the door of the apparent stalker and her family. She opens the door, but with the chain still on the door, like the door lock. I see half her face from behind the door. Yes. Can I help? Can I help? Were you at my door or inside? I don't want to make this a police thing now, but you came down the stairs and I know you were inside. And then she says, I just had to get something. Won't happen again. Okay, bye. See you. Door closed. Okay. I don't know how I would handle that situation, but he was very nice about it. This happened last month. I've been cleaning my house every weekend closely now, and I got the locks changed and put a motion sensor camera above my door. It only films and triggers on the steps coming up to my door, so the fourth apartments still have their privacy. So far, so good. I don't think she's been inside since, but looking back, I think she'd been living in or going in or whatever into my apartment since January, because that's my earliest memory of finding hairs. She never took anything of value like my laptop or the few watches I have. Seemingly, she just showered and ate some of my food and laid in my bed. I do now also always take the elevator and avoid the third floor like the plague. Yeah, I'd probably do that too. Edit. I'm not really worried about my safety because I'm a 200-pound and do a lot of fight training. 2, the new camera has never gone off once since I installed it, other than myself triggering it when I'm home. Finally, 3, I told the old retired husband and wife on the 4th floor that I suspect a robber was trying to break into my apartment last month. I didn't want to start spreading rumors and gossip and asked them to keep an ear out when I'm at work. I feel fine and safe, just creeped out like my personal space has been violated. Edit 2. Someone DM'd me to check my coats and bags for air tags. Oh, God. And as to how maybe she knew I was coming home earlier that day. I don't have a lot of stuff on, so I think it would have 100% found it by now, given how often I clean, but I default to do another sweep of my stuff. But I'll do another sweep of my stuff. Okay, so here's the update from May. Now that was crazy. I can't imagine I couldn't handle that situation. I'd be very confused with the hairs and such. And yeah, so the girl was just going into his apartment. I have so many questions. How did she get in? How did she actually know he was going to be home or not? All that good stuff. So continuing, update from May. Hi all, update following the last post. My cousin's husband is a police officer, so I went to him directly about filing a report. He came over to my apartment first as I gave him a visual breakdown of what happened on the stairs and odd things I'd noticed in my apartment since January. Primarily just hairs everywhere and missing food, and how my door was unlocked that day. Though I did a thorough clean the following event. Yeah, he's really putting it out there that he's a good cleaner, which is fine. So I gave him my statement in detail and some dates best I could. When I remember finding the first hair, I noticed the first food going missing, etc. Also, he advised me not to talk to the family, not even with a friend, to avoid any confusion or get lawyers involved or muddy the waters with the accusations. With all that done, he left and came back 2 to 3 days later. He and his partner went to talk to the family on Sunday because they knew both parents would likely be home then. Long story short, she confessed to everything and immediately broke down into tears and apologized once my police friend brought up how 5 months of entering someone's house even with keys, is still very much an offense, and she could easily end up with a sentence of some should I pursue it. And that sentence could very easily involve the inside of a jail cell, irregardless of if she stole something or not. I don't know how true that is. Might just have been my friend and his partner pressing and exaggerating for a confession, but it worked. They talked for an hour with the parents, and her in all the same room to get answers from her. Then the same day came up to mine with his partner, and they gave me the breakdown. Here's the answers. How did she get into the apartment, have her own key? The locks on our doors are the type that use a code, the lock barrel, that only the manufacturer or partnered approved locksmiths have access to. She knew this because her parents got the locks changed when they first moved in, and in fact, she used the same locksmith from all the way back then. The locksmith presumably remembered the family in the apartment, but just didn't pay attention to it, being the 5th floor this time instead of her own 3rd floor. So he came over, took the barrel out, saw the code, went and made a set of keys, and done. I was none the wiser. Both my locks on my door are different brands, but presumably they operate in the same way. So I have having two locks made no difference. That's terrifying. She freaking got a locksmith to undo his door. So she just picked up a code, so then she just walked in when he wasn't there. That's pretty insane. The apartment complex should be like sued even, right? It's crazy. What was she doing in my apartment? Anyone who said she just needed space, you were right. She has 2 younger step siblings, and her mother is a tutor, not a teacher, as I presumed previously. She tutors at home, so at any given point, there's always some kids around the house. She would say to her parents she was going out to study or work or a girlfriend's house, and use my house as a hotel while she studied or relaxed. The reason she used mine was partly because she knew it was empty, but also because my schedule was predictable, as I worked an average at 9 to 5 like everyone else, but leave the house 6 to 6:30 to get the gym done too. That essentially gave her the house from 6 to 5. How long was it going on? That's terrifying that she's paying attention to that schedule, by the way. How long? My guess was right. It started in January when she figured out I'd broken up with my girlfriend at the time around November. My girlfriend would stay at mine when I went to work and back sometimes, so yeah, it wouldn't have been an interesting situation if they crossed paths. Okay, so paid attention to his life. So then how did she know I was coming home early that day and that I wasn't going to work straight after the gym like usual, and so she bolted out of the shower? Or on days I didn't go to the gym, how did she know not to come in? Twofold. Firstly, I go to a commercial gym in my country, and so they have an app. Irregardless if you're a member or not, one of the 2 things the app lets you see is how many people are in each branch, so you can see how full it is. All you have to do is download it and scan a QR code at the entrance by the turnstiles and add it to My Gyms tab. It literally shows you branch number, 9 out of 50, 18% full. She would refresh the app in the morning, and if it went up by 1 around 6:30, and she heard me go downstairs or use the elevator, it's not hard when it's 6 a.m. and the apartment is otherwise silent, then she would know the house is empty. That's insane. She downloaded a gym app and would refresh it. Is that true? I feel like anyone could walk. I feel like 6 to 6:30 is a pretty decent time. Like, people are going to be at the gym pretty regularly. I think she probably just waited for him, but what's next? Okay, now for the creepiest, most messed up bit of it all. She had put an AirTag on my car. She insisted that she had only put it recently and initially just presumably gambled that I wouldn't be home sooner than expected. But then one thing led to another, and yeah, I don't know how much I believe of this. Again, it could be an attempt to not look so guilty. I mean, she's admitting to put an AirTag on the car. She's also saying that she got a gym app just to see when you would get that. That's insane. The day when we clashed, she refreshed the app and saw I left the gym, but then my car didn't move. She connected the dots and tried to leave ASAP. When she heard me coming up the stairs, she didn't have time to lock up, so we met on the stairs with my door remaining closed but not locked. extra detail, the AirTag was stuck under my car. I think the AirTag plays way more of a factor than this gym app thing. But using my shower, she claims she didn't do it always just on hot days or days she couldn't at home. I can't deny or confirm this. Like I said previously, being a gym goer, I'd shower 5+ times a week. So how did her parents never notice? Well, the dad leaves early for work, 5 a.m., starts around 6. The mom is up around 6 to 7, but she's preparing for her own students for that day, plus her own kids to send to school. Wasn't too bothered with what her eldest 20-year-old daughter was doing, really. She'd just say, I'm going to the college library, I'm going to my girlfriend's, and that was good enough. I'm like trying to piece, like making sure this crazy story makes sense, but some of this is like, I don't know. How would you know that information? Like, did she tell you all of this? Did she tell the cops all of that? I don't know. A little odd, but okay. I'm still with it. I'm still immersed. Did she have a thing for me or like a crush? My police friend didn't really say anything about this, presumably. He never asked, since it's not important as the other details, or it never came back. It makes a little difference. How's my standings with the family right now? The mom and dad both apologized to me. The mom via text and the dad in person at my door. He offered to pay for the camera I installed, as his daughter was the direct cause of it, but it was cheap off Amazon. So I said, no, it's fine. We have had a 10 to 15 minute conversation, and he was very apologetic and explained his daughter had always been extremely quiet and well behaved, so something like this would never have crossed his mind in a million years. He added that his daughter never had a boyfriend, at least that he know of, and only has a few friends, so her social interaction skills aren't necessarily top notch. And that even when guests would come around, she'd hide away in the spare room. So the few people who predicted that maybe COVID and lockdown led to her not having a good social interaction skills, you were half right. He again offered me more money for my troubles like missing food, new locks, cleaning, but I felt bad enough already. I declined. So he did also ask if I would press charges, and I said no. More on that below. Okay. Am I going to press charges? No, I'm still not happy about the situation, especially the effing AirTag on my car, but the family is apologetic as well as the culprit herself, and honestly, no one is going to gain anything from this. I would like an apology, though. For anyone that cares about the extra detail, she got the AirTag as a gift a while back from her parents because she kept losing her stuff. Have I seen her since? No, she apparently won't leave her room and is terrified that I'll press charges, though presumably her family said I won't. How do I currently feel? Well, I was never especially worried or nervous, just really creeped out about the whole situation. It felt like it felt like I'd been a parasite host and somehow never noticed until then. Currently, I still feel a little angry, and a small part of me is thinking to seek revenge, but any revenge I seek, like money or slander, is truthfully going to impact the parents more than her. Do I feel bad for her? Truthfully, no. She's not 10, she's 20-something and educated, so yeah, you should be remorseful, feel guilty, and scared. Get over that hump and we'll talk. Plus, there's loads of space there's loads of spaces for young adults like public libraries or her college space. By no means was my house the only viable option. Finally, did she use my bed or wear my clothes? Believe it or not, yes, she did. Any advice I can give? Check your Wi-Fi devices. If I had checked that, I would have noticed her phone and laptop all the way back when. Obviously, my Wi-Fi modem is in my house, and so she helped herself to that. Again, it's one of those things. How often does one check their Wi-Fi devices? Truthfully, with all my family visiting me and their devices, I probably wouldn't have noticed one extra phone amongst the existing 10 plus, but I 100% would have noticed the extra laptop. Fair. So let that be a lesson to you all. And yes, I have removed her device from my list and changed my passwords. So yeah, I just wanted to read that story because it was crazy. Yeah, this has been the show with Joe, and check your fucking Wi-Fi connects. Later. Smell you later. Bye-bye.